to the Duffy Daugherty legend. Bear Bryant, is he the guy that broke the color barrier for college football? No. Ray of Light is about Jimmy Ray, who played for Duffy Daugherty, the integration of college football in the 1965-66 Michigan State Spartans. Please welcome to the podium my friend Tom Shanahan.
Thank you, Dave. I'm really honored to be here. Ray of Light was my first book, and it mostly focuses on how Duffy Daugherty at Michigan State influenced college football integration with his teams. In the 60s, schools, including USC, had quotas where they didn't want more than a half dozen black players. And Duffy Daugherty smashed all those quotas, and once he had success, other schools began to follow it. So this mostly is about the success at Michigan State. My second book, which I don't know if you guys have had trouble with your publishers, but mine is still dragging its feet on the release date. I dug in even deeper because what I realized was Duffy's assistant coaches spread out across the country and followed his blueprint of ignoring quotas. And so that means Duffy's influence is coast to coast, and those coaches include Dan Devine and Frank Kush at Arizona State. These are all Michigan State people. Dan Devine and Frank Kush at Arizona State. Bob Devaney at Wyoming and Nebraska. Chuck Fairbanks teamed up with Barry Switzer at Oklahoma. Chuck was the head coach and Barry was his offensive coordinator. And Barry told me, Barry's the only one still alive left from this group. Barry told me that he and Chuck were on the same page. Because when they took over, Oklahoma only had 3 black players. How many people would think that? Because in the 70s, they were pretty much a model for integrated programs. Sonny Grandelius, even at Colorado, has a tremendous story to tell. And then 2 coaches who desegregated their southern programs were Bill Yeoman at Houston and Earl Edwards at North Carolina State. So what I'm going to read is a little bit from my book, The Right Thing to Do. And as Joanne said, the reason people don't know these stories and why the 1970 USC-Alabama game came in and stole the narrative is because the milestones recorded by black athletes weren't recorded. They were basically ignored. The sports media ignored race until the 1968 Olympics kind of forced it, plus Muhammad Ali. And since we're here in Winston-Salem, I'm going to read I have chapters representing countries all across the country, and one of them is Wake Forest. So I'm going to read from my chapter about Bob Grant, who was from a high school at Georgetown here in North Carolina. And he had planned to go play for Michigan State and Duffy Daugherty because that's how Michigan State was a North Star for black kids in the South until Bill Tate at Wake Forest desegregated the program and wanted to recruit him. So here's what I have from that chapter. Bob Grant's future changed when legendary Georgetown coach Gideon T. Johnson called him into his office. Johnson had been contacted by Bill Tate, who offered Grant a Wake Forest scholarship. Johnson tried to impress upon Grant the role in history he would play clearing a path for future black athletes in the South. This is a quote from Bob. I told him, why would I want to go to a school that gets beats up all the time? I'm going to win a national title at Michigan State. Johnson, though, the high school coach, was a giant in the community. Grant accepted his coach's advice and set out on a pioneering path. In 1968, Bob was the first black player from a major Southern conference to be taken in the NFL draft. He was a second-round pick by the Baltimore Colts, and I doubt very many people knew that fact. That's an example of how many black milestones are overlooked, and that's my contribution